Hello and welcome to Happy Handicrafts. My name is Joanna and today we are going to be making a pin cube. This is probably our generation's version of a pin cushion. A pin cube is probably what they used back in the early 1900s when they were sewing for their pins, as this book was written in the early 1900s. So this model is the sixth model from the third year from the book Paper Sloyd for Primary Grades by Ednah Anne Rich. If you've been following along with us for any length of time, you will notice that it is a little more involved. It definitely took a little longer, but that is okay. So let's get started. Now the materials you're going to need for this project are the book Paper Sloyd for Primary Grades by Ednah Anne Rich. If you don't already have a copy, I'll put a couple links below where you can find it online or purchase it. You're also going to need a cutting mat, an X-Acto knife, a pencil, some pins, sewing pins, a ruler, some glue, and some good quality paper that is at least 7 inches by 8.5 inches. We're using 12-inch by 12-inch scrapbook paper. Now the first thing we're going to do, as usual, is we're going to create a rectangle. This rectangle is going to be 7 inches by 8.5 inches. So as you can see, we're measuring down from the top on the left and right hand side 7 inches, and we're drawing a dot. Then we join our 2 dots with a line holding the ruler firmly in place. We're next going to measure in at the top from the left to 8.5 inches, and we draw a dot. And then down on our line, we're going to measure in from the left to 8.5 inches, and we draw another dot. Now we're going to join those 2 dots with a line. Next, we're going to cut out our rectangle. We're going to use an X-Acto knife on our cutting mat. You can also use scissors if you like. Next, we're going to work with our paper, our rectangle, in a horizontal position, and we're going to measure across the top at 2 inches and we'll put a dot. Then at 4 inches and put a dot. Then 6 inches and put a dot, and 8 inches and put a dot. Then we'll do the same along the bottom. We'll measure in at 2, 4, 6, and 8 inches and put dots at each of those spots. Now using our ruler, we're going to join the 2-inch dots with a line. Now move to the 4-inch dots and join those with a line. Next, join the 6-inch dots with a line. And finally, the 8-inch dots. We will join those with a line. We are next going to measure down on the left hand side and place dots at the 2.5 inch mark, the 4.5 mark, and the 6.5. Now we forgot to do the 1/2 inch mark, so you're going to see we're going to come and do that next, but you can measure down at 1/2 inch as well. And the same on this side, you could measure down 1/2 inch. We missed it, so we're going to do our first dot at 2.5 inches, 4.5, and 6.5. Now we're going to join our lines. We're starting by joining our 2.5 inch dots with a line. Then we'll go to the 4.5 inch dots. And the 6.5 inch dots. And now we're going to go backwards because we missed those 1/2 inch dots. So we're going to place those 1/2 inch dots. I told you many times this is the first time we go through this, so we're just showing you how we work it out and we make mistakes. So you're going to see all our mistakes as well and how we correct them. So there she's placed the 1/2 inch dots, and we'll join those with a line. Now we're going to put dots on the first horizontal line. They're going to go at 4.5 inches, 5 inches, and 5.5 inches. We're going to do the same on the fourth horizontal line. This is the last horizontal line. Put a dot at 4.5, 5, and 5.5 inches. Now using your ruler, you're going to join those dots. So join the 4.5 inch dots. You can go all the way across the paper, or you can stop at that first and fourth horizontal line. It doesn't really matter because this side of the paper is going to be on the inside of our cube. Next, we're going to place lines on the second horizontal line at 2.5 inches, 3 inches, 3.5 inches, 6.5 inches, 7 inches, and 7.5. Then we're going to do the same on the third horizontal line. Let's place the dot at 2.5, 3, 3.5, then 6.5, 7, and 7.5. And we're going to join those lines between the second horizontal line and the third horizontal line. We're going to join our dots. Now we're going to place dots on the second vertical line at 2 inches, 3 inches, 3.5 inches, 4 inches, and 5 inches. Then we'll measure our ruler. We'll move our ruler over to the fourth vertical line. Oop, not there, all the way to the end. Yes. And we're going to measure down to 2 inches, 3, 3.5, 4, and 5 inches. And now we'll use our ruler to join those dots. starting at the 2-inch dots, down to the 3-inch dots. Be really careful with your ruler. We found that our ruler kind of wiggled a little bit, and we ended up redoing this entire thing for accuracy's sake, because if it's not super accurate, your dots are not going to be, or your pin cube is not going to be very accurate at all. Now, this is our new one. We redid it, so it's nice and clean. And now we're going to place dots on the 2nd and 3rd vertical lines at 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 5.5, and 6 inches. We'll move the ruler over to the 3rd vertical line, and we'll do those dots again. One inch, 1.5, 5.5, and 6. Now we'll join those dots again with our ruler, starting at the 1 inch, and we're just going to draw a line between the 2nd and 3rd vertical line. Now the next step is to create the tabs that are going to glue our cube together. We found that if we extended our dots or our lines, we would find where the horizontal or where the slanting lines would go. So we extended our lines, or we just drew a dot, as you can see Lucy doing here, and then we joined the corners to that dot. This is where the diagram comes in very handy, because sometimes instructions are a little vague or hard to understand, and so it's sometimes it's easier to look at the diagram to really see how we're supposed to draw the lines. Next, we're going to outline what we're going to cut, the lines that we're going to cut. This is an optional step, but we do this just to simplify when we cut. It's easy just to start cutting and make a mistake, and then you've got to redo the entire thing. So we've found that instead of redoing an entire thing, we just darken the lines that we're going to cut. Next, we're going to make dots at the intersection of the lines in the square. Each square is going to get 9 dots. This is the middle square. Then the right-hand square gets 9 dots. Then we'll do the top square with 9 dots. If you don't have a book, you can follow Lucy's diagram to show you where to put the dots. Next, we're going to take a pin and we're going to poke a hole through each of those dots. You want to make sure that they go completely through, because this is the back portion of the cube. So once we fold it, we want to make sure that the other side has those holes. Now, once you've poked the holes, you're going to cut out the pin cube with your X-Acto knife or scissors if that's how you choose. Once you're completed cutting it out, we are going to use our ruler to make our initial folds. This just helps, using the ruler just helps us get those folds nice and straight from the beginning. So she's going to go around and do all the tabs and all the cube folds. We'll come around in a little bit and reinforce those folds to make them nice and crisp. But initially this is just outline or doing a first fold. Make sure you get all the tabs. So now you're going to see Lucy is reinforcing all those folds. We do that simply by running the back of the ruler over the folds that have already been made to make them really crisp. Now the final step is to fold in the tabs, put glue on them, and fold them into the inside of the box or inside of our cube. We did 2 at a time. You can hold them firmly in place until they stick, and then we go on to the next. We did the sides, both sides, covering them in glue first. Make sure you put it on the, fold the tabs inside and put the glue on the outside of the tabs. Then you're going to fold it, make sure the tabs go on the inside of that cube once again, and hold them in place until they stick. And finally, you're going to put glue around the tabs at the top, or this is actually going to be the bottom of the cube, and press the lid down. Hold it firmly in place, and you can remove all that excess glue if you have any. And once it's firmly in place, you have your pin cube. Now you can poke it full of pins and use it for your next sewing project. I hope you enjoyed this project. We certainly did, and we learned a lot. Thank you for following us, and I hope to see you in our next video.